Good morning, everybody. We are in Parashat Balak, a very interesting parasha. And one of the interesting things is the knowledge that we're getting now. We think that God belongs to us, and the Goyim, let them go. But the real truth is that we are the messengers of God, and we have a job. But the idea is that at the end of days, everybody is going to believe in God. And we are the one who have to take the light and spread it all over. In other words, everybody has a share with God. And in order to understand it a little more, we see in our parasha something unbelievable. We see that God doesn't only speak with the Jews or with our prophets. God speaks with the Goyim also. And we see it in a very interesting way. When Bilam, we call him Bilam Arasha, the evil Bilam, he speaks at God with a high level. And you know how high the level is? Our sages say that Lokam B'Yisrael Moshe Od. There is nobody in Am Israel like Moses. But, says the Gemara, the Goyim they have. And who is it? Bilam Arasha. Bilam Arasha is, it's very interesting to compare Bilam Arasha to Moshe Rabbeinu. It's something unbelievable. How can you compare this evil guy, this guy that runs after honor and money, desires and lust, this guy that is all involved in the dirty things of the world? How can we compare him to Moshe Rabbeinu? And this brings us to a very interesting point. Sometimes in life, we don't realize that the leader has a connection with the people. And not only this, if you remember when Am Yisrael was sinning in the golden calf, is written that God tells him, Red kishichet amcha, go down because your people sinned. And go down, one of the explanations is go down from your glory. Go down from the place you are. And you go down now because your people went down. In other words, there is a connection between the leader and the people. And when we talk about this, one of the very interesting things is to understand if there is a connection between the leader and the people, meaning that when we look at the leader, what do we see? And what do we understand? Who are the people? What is the level of the people? So first of all, if Moshe Rabbeinu is the leader of the people in the desert, Dor De'ah, it means that those people were at a very high level. And it's true. So what are all those sins? All the time we see all the sins, they're sinning. Every 2 minutes there is another sin. The point is, if we check exactly how many people sinned, we will find out very interesting point. There are only very few that did all those sins. So why is all Am Yisrael being blamed for it? Because that's exactly the idea. When we check a diamond, a pure diamond, even a little dirt in it, a little black point in it, reduces the price tremendously. But if we take a junk and there is missing 1 kilo, 2 kilos, who cares? It's worth nothing. In other words, when we check a diamond, Am Yisrael are a diamond, a rare diamond, a clean diamond. So every point is disturbing the whole picture. In other words, if one sins in Am Yisrael, all Am Yisrael are being blamed because you are at just such a high level, you had to make sure that you wouldn't have this black dot. From the other side, if we're talking about junk, so if it's dirty, so what? It's junk. And exactly this is the difference between Am Yisrael and the Goyim. And now we also understand why is Bilam Arasha such a guy? Because he is a leader of the Goyim. The Goyim that run after themselves, after their own desires, they care only about themselves, not about others, and they enjoy all the bad things of the world. So in other words, the leader is the same. And that's what we see. That's the picture. So now we understand that, yes, it can be two people with the same quality, but still behave differently in an unbelievable way. And by the way, we see it in life all the time. You see people with great intelligence, with great virtues, and really good people. And they get to a place, for example, in politics. We can see it all the time. You know the guy, and you know him. This guy is an unbelievable guy. He's a tzaddik. And then you find out, years later, when you meet him, this guy is whole corrupt. What happened? My brother used to work in politics years ago. with Bibi Netanyahu. And he told me once something that I can never forget. He left right after the election, and I'm not going to go into the whole story, but the thing is, he told me, and I always remember this. He is a great professor, well known all over the world, my brother, in psychology, communication psychology. Anyway, he told me, I told him, you're crazy. You can be everything. You can get a job for life. You are close to those who decide, to the Rosh Mמשלה, to all the things. He says, you have to listen to me, my dear brother. In the toilet, that's the way I thought. Like I'm swimming in the toilet and all around me is all the dirt of the toilet, and you know what I'm talking about. I couldn't stay, I couldn't smell I couldn't last in this stink, in this dirt. So he left. Baruch Hashem, very successful. In other words, that can be a good guy that gets to a position that gives him a lot of power, and the people he's involved with are not exactly the great tzaddikim, and the influence is going to work. And we all know it. When you are in a bad society, eventually it works on you. We can see it in our world all the time. Things that were, let's say, 10 years ago, unspeakable. Nobody even mentioned them. Today, it's normal. If you remember years ago, if there was a picture of a girl, whoa, how do you put a picture of a girl with kissing a guy, whatever? And today, what do you see outside? Naked girls, naked men, on everywhere, on television, programs for kids. You see things that in all times, they wouldn't dare to show it to kids. What happened? The influence. And that is what we have to understand. Our parsha is not a parsha, as we always say, it's not an historical story. It's life. It's how we should behave. The Bilam is inside us. We can be Moshe Rabbeinu, and we can be Bilam HaRasha. Now, Bilam HaRasha, we have to understand, he says on himself, Yodea Da'at Elyon, meaning he knows God. He's so close to God, and we see God is speaking with him all the time. And the real truth is, if we bring it the parsha and we look at what's happening all around, it looks very, that on the surface, Bilam is a tzaddik. For example, Balak has got a problem. He's calling Bilam to come and curse Am Israel. So what is written? Vayishlach malachim el Bilam. He sends angels, messengers to Bilam. And what is Bilam answering him? Bilam is answering him, 1 minute. Vayomer alehem, he tells them, stay here tonight. Vashivoti etchem davar, kasher yedaber Hashem elai, and I will answer you as God tells me. And listen what's happening. God reveals himself to him at night, and he talks with God. This guy talks with God. You see those people that went out of Egypt, Am Israel, and he wants to do from the dead. And God answers him. You know at what level you have to be for God to speak with you. This is an unbelievable level. And then, he gets up in the morning and says, sorry, people, God doesn't let me go with you. You listen to what I'm saying? He's telling them, God told me not to go, I'm not going. That's tzaddik. And it goes on. When they come back to Balak, Balak says, oh, wait, I did a mistake. The messengers I sent were at a very low level. I have to send high rank. I have to send much higher people. So he sends all the ministers to get to Bilam. And they get to him again. And what's happening now? Balak, you have to understand, even if you give you all a full house with money, I cannot go against God. That's what he's saying. And he says, okay, sit here and I'll ask God what to do. And again, he's talking with God. And God tells him, you know what? You can go if you want. If they came for you and you want to go, you can go. And now something very interesting happens. Bilam gets up in the morning, takes his donkey, and he goes. And the Torah is telling us, and God got very angry that Bilam is going. So I'm asking, what's happening now? God gave him a permission, so what's the problem? What's going on here? In the beginning, he tells him, don't go. Then he tells him, you can go if they come to sell. And then he's angry because he goes. What's going on here? And from the other side, we see that really this Bilam is listening to God. So is he a tzaddik? We all know that not. So what's going on here? I'll ask you a question. Imagine to yourself that somebody is coming to you and tells you, I want to kill your children. Is this a normal guy? What is Bilam HaRasha saying to God? I want to destroy your children. Are you saying? You're not saying. You're Meshigana. How dare you come to our Father in heaven and ask him to kill us? Something is wrong with you. So we see that if we really want to understand, and why is God angry after he gave him a permission? Very simple. Because God told him if you want to go. Now, Balak is calling him for what? To curse Am Israel. And God is telling him, you cannot curse Am Israel. That's for definite. In the beginning, didn't let him to go at all. And then he tells you, you go, but you do what I tell you to do. You cannot curse them. So in other words, he's going to curse them or to bless them. What do you think? To bless them. Because God is not going to allow him to curse him. But what is really important? He goes to Balak. Balak wants him to curse the people. So how is it that he goes to Balak to bless the people? Impossible. He thinks that he can play around with God. Because otherwise he wouldn't go. Because if God tells you you're not allowed to curse them, why do you go? Balak wants you to come and curse. And God tells you you cannot curse them. So a normal guy that talks with God would say, okay, God, if they came to call me and I'm not allowed to curse them, so there is no reason for me to go. But that's not what Bilam is doing. He's going. Unbelievable. And this is just telling us how low you can go if your mind is distracted, so distracted, like Bilam HaRasha. He talks with God. God talks with him. He knows what God wants, and he still goes against it. Unbelievable. Eventually, when he goes on his way, something strange happens. An angel comes, appears to his donkey. He doesn't see it. 3 times. Only the 3rd time, he is seeing the angel. After, the donkey talks with him. Unbelievable. The donkey talks with him, and he hits the donkey. This great prophet that's got this power to bless, to curse, cannot even deal with his own donkey. What's going on here? 3 times. Is he telling us something? Of course. There's a big lesson here. First of all, we want to understand, or Chaim HaKadosh asks, why is it that in the beginning, God tells him not to go, then he tells him to go? What happened? Very simple. In the beginning, if God would let him go, people will think that Bilam can do what he wants. So God told him, you're not going. So everybody knows and sees that Bilam cannot go if God doesn't want him to go. But from the other side, people can think maybe God is afraid of Bilam, because if he doesn't let him go, it means that if he goes and curses Am Israel, his curse is going to work. So what is God doing? The next time he tells him, you want to go? You can go, but you will not allowed to curse. In other words, says our Chaim HaKadosh, is showing everybody that the leash of the dog is in the hand of the owner. It's like you take a dog with a leash, you can drag him, you can let him go, and you can take him back. That's what God is doing with Bilam HaRasha. From one side, he's showing everybody, you cannot do anything that I want to what you do. But if you think that I am afraid of your mouth, no problem, you go, and you will see that you cannot do anything with your mouth. So now we have the explanation why God in the beginning tells him not to go, and then he tells him to go. And we also understand why is God furious of him going after he gave him a permission. And what is all this game? What's happening? Why is he sending the angel in order to stop him in a certain way? Because God, at the end of the day, he wants the guy not to sin. He wants him to do tshuva. So this guy is a very high level. So God is giving him the chances. He's giving him 3 chances. He tells him, you know, you're not going in the right way. And he's also asking him, לקרוא לך, if they call you, is for your own benefits. לך לטובתך. Like it's written from Avraham Avinu, לך לך, you go for your own good. And he's telling Bilam Rasha, check and think reasonable. Is this going to be good for you to go or not? And if Bilam Rasha would have stopped and think for a minute, he wouldn't go. But Bilam Rasha is already not. The only thing that motivates him is his desire, his lust, his honor. So he goes. So God gives him another chance. This is the famous story with David HaMelech. And with David HaMelech is written let me see if I find it. Let me see if I find it. Okay, here. Yes, I got it. It's here. No, it's not here. Maybe it's here. No, I cannot find it. I'll look for a minute more and then we go on. If I can find them, I will say it. I'm sure I got it here. Here it is. Okay. This is the famous thing with Kifsat Arash, the famous story with the prophet that came to David HaMelech after what he did with Bathsheba in Uriah Hittite. And he tells him this mashal, from this he has to learn that he did something wrong. ויבוא אלך לאיש העשיר, ויחמול לקחת מצונו ומבקרו לעשות לאורח הבא לו, ויקח את כבשת האיש הרש, ויעשה על האיש הבא אליו. So this story, this guy comes to visit this rich man. This rich man's got a poor neighbor. He's got cattle with thousands. And his neighbor, the poor one's got only one sheep. And this guy is taking this sheep and giving it to eat to the visitor that came to him. And says, this is an unbelievable thing. David HaMelech says, Ben Mavet Aisha, this guy deserves a death penalty. And what's interesting here, if you look very careful, we see in the same passage that the visitor that comes is being called in 3 different phrases. Vayavo elech, first of all elech, then la'asot la'oreach, a visitor, and then ish, a man. Say our sages. Elech is somebody who comes, is outside. He's not in the house, he's not your guest yet. Then he gets in, he is your guest. And then when he's already in, he becomes the balabait. He becomes the ish. And that's the way Yetzer Hara works. Yetzer Hara in the beginning comes, knocks at your door. Now, it's your option. Are you going to let him in or not? You now got the option and said, sorry, go away. Finished. Then if you let him go, now he's your guest. You have to honor him. He's your guest. Yetzer Hara already is settling in. And when he's in, he becomes what? The balabal. He is the ish. He becomes the one who controls all your action. And that's exactly the story with Bilam HaRasha and the donkey and the angel. The first time it was in the middle of a field. It got the option to go back with no problem. Then it was between 2 walls. Now it's a little more difficult. And then there was no way the donkey could move. And then when he reveals himself, the angel, and Bilam Arasha is saying, okay, you know what? If God doesn't want me to go, I'm going back. The angel tells him, no, no, that's it. That's the point of no return. בדרך שאדם רוצה ללך מוליכים אותו. In a way that the guy wants to go, God takes him. In other words, God in life gives us warning. The same way here, 3 times, gives us warning. The first warning, it's very easy to take. The second one is already a little hard. But the third one, it's the point of no return. It doesn't have to be 3 times, but I'm just saying that's the 3 positions, the 3 options you've got in life. You can let Yetzer Hara go into your life. Then you can have him as a guest. And then if you don't send him away, and it's more difficult to send a guest than to send somebody you don't even know that is outside. But if you don't send the guest away, he becomes the balabai and he controls all your action. And that's what Bilam, with all his knowledge, with all his greatness, he was controlled by Yetzer Hara. And we all know his head. So in other words, we learn here a big lesson about how to understand that the actions we take have a result. And in life, sometimes you have to check, is this Yetzer Hara? I know, I think you know God, you have to connect the knowledge with your heart. You have to connect the knowledge with your deeds. And sometimes in life, those people who are living on desire, they want satisfactions, immediate satisfaction. This world. This world is, everybody runs, he wants a satisfaction, another one. You satisfy yourself with something, then you want something else. It's living the moment. You know what is living the moment? It sounds good. And if you think about it, yeah, you should live the moment, but is it really right? Or what is the way that we in Judaism look about living the moment? And here we can see and learn from Bilam Arasha. Bilam Arasha is living the moment. He doesn't care what's going to happen later. He knows he's going in a dangerous way, but he lives the moment. And by the way, I want to read you what Ellen Wetz, a well-known philosopher, wrote. אם אתם מתעקשים להיות מונעים, if you want to go and be driven and be, let's say, as a gender, like the past is going to rule you and is going to drive you, that's your game. But the fact is that everything starts now. But we like to connect things to the past because it gives other people the knowledge or the sight that we are safe, that we are going in the right way. That's we are normal people. But when we talk about freedom from karma, freedom from being a puppet of the past, it's only a change in mind. In other words, if you are going to get rid of this thing of thinking, way of thinking, that you explain yourself as a result of what happened before, and instead you will go to another way of thinking and more logical, you don't describe yourself or take yourself and put yourself in a position and about connected to what you did in the past, but what I'm doing now. It sounds very interesting, and my English is not so good as this Ellen Wetz, and I wrote it in Hebrew, not in English, so I'm translating it, but the idea is very clear. He says you have to disconnect yourself from the past in order to live now. Now it's important. And I want to tell you, for example, this drug addict, he came to shul and collected money. He wanted drugs. And you know what drugs do to you? You will elevate yourself, but in a bad way. And a few days later, he was found in one of the places dead. It's for, like example, somebody who lives the moment. You know what Buddha said? And this is an unbelievable, I read it in an article about meditation. It's written like this. The secret of health of the body and the soul is not to mourn the past and to worry about the future, but to live here and now with wisdom and with the full intention. Sounds good. But everything here, if you see, is from the point of view of me. This Alan Watts is talking about me, me, me. He doesn't care about what's happening around him. And that's when the problem starts. Now, what is to live the moment? I want to fly. So I go up at the 40th floor building and I jump. So I'm flying. For 1 minute. And then I'm down there, finished. I am diabetic. I'm not allowed to eat sugar. But I see this cake and I want to eat it. Live the moment. So I eat it. Can I disconnect myself from my past and not thinking about the future and living only the moment? No. It's a mistake to think like this. But do you think that what is more important than anything is living the moment? But in our tradition, living the moment is when you're connected to your past and the moment today, now, is leading you to a better future. Because this world is a passageway to the next world. And if you understand this interesting point, which is telling us what it's all about, you can know God like Bilam Arasha and still go against him because you are motivated and you are acting to going after your lust. And what is moving you and leading you is your desire, is the Yetzer Hara, is the evil inclination. And this is when you think about yourself. But if you start thinking about the others, if you start thinking about the big picture, that I am a part of the world and this world is only a temporary world. I'm only preparing myself to the next world. Did you listen? How do I do this? I look at what my father, my ancestors did. And from them I learn how to live my life now, here, the moment. Yes, the moment is important, but only if it's connected to the past and moves me to a better future, to the next world, to a better place. And the only way to do it is I control the bad inclination. If I know that there is a small Bilam inside me, but there is also a small Moshe inside me, and I look at Moshe and I look at Bilam, two figures that got the same potential, exactly the same potential as our sages say. And look what happened to Moshe Rabbeinu, and look what happened to Bilam. And another interesting lesson that we learned today is be a part, let's say, be in a good company and not in a bad company. Because a bad company's got bad influence. Good company has good influence. So be a part of a good company and not a bad company. Because as we see in our parsha, and as we see in life, when you are involved with corruption, you are going to corrupt yourself also. And nobody can stand against what's happening around him unless he goes in the right way and understand and doesn't let Yetzer Hara go in. As we said, he comes as somebody who passed on the way. Then he becomes a guest. And if he is a guest, you still can throw him out. But if you don't throw him out when he's a guest, he becomes the Balabai. He controls all your moves. And that's exactly what happened to Bilam Arasha. So we will try and learn from Moshe Rabbeinu to go in the right way, to see the real truth that is behind everything, and to understand that living in this world, we have a lot of things around us, and we have to know how to control them. And we all know we are believers. We know God. We know what God wants from us. So what's happening? Why do we do sometimes things against God? Because each one of us got to fight. And I'm not saying we cannot be successful all the time. It's a hard fight. It's a hard war. But what we can do is to try and walk in the right way. And as we said, if Bilam Arasha would have changed his way when the donkey stopped 2 times, he could have been a better guy. He could have changed his life. But he went on in the same way and he got to the point of no return. So I wish all of us that we will never ever get to the point of no return. That we'll always have the option to change the ways and to go always in the good way. And if God will see that we are really trying to go in the good way, בדרך שאדם רוצה ללכת, God will lead us in the good way to heaven. Thank you very much, and be all blessed in a good way.